One of the biggest off-season issues facing four teams from the NFC North, from the Bears to the Vikings. It's time to break it down all for you here as we continue our series on fantasy football.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NFL fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome to another the Locked On Fantasy Football Podcast. Podcast is your host, Vinnie Iyer. When I'm not doing this, I'm writing about NFL and fantasy football for Sporting.com. We're getting ready for the NFL Combine. We'll have all the workouts coming through, so we'll get to look at the quarterback, running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, and fantasy football stars, and that's what we do here all through the offseason on Locked On Fantasy Football. We cross the reality football, NFL, advanced scouting, agency, and the draft, and we've a little bit about the draft rankings, mock drafts. We'll keep updating those after the combine. We've also looked at the top free agents out there. What we're now doing is looking at the big season questions facing every team in the NFL. And what we're doing is breaking down by division. So we did that here already. Two divisions from the NFC, the NFC, and the NFC South. Now we're going to focus on the NFC North, and we know there's some massive questions there, including about Aaron Rodgers. So we'll get into that here with all 14 teams. So we'll start with the Bears and with the Vikings going alphabetical order by C here. What we'll do with the division. So I would say we're going to look at the NFC on the next show here, looking at the Cowboys and Giants, Eagles, and Commanders, what they're going to be doing here. But focus on the Bears, Lions, Packers, and Vikings show. Thanks for making Locked On Fantasy Football your first listen every day. We're free and available for you on all platforms. Let us start with the Bears, a new offense, a new head coach there, Matt Eberflus. He was the defensive coordinator of the Colts, so we're looking to get Fields back on track here as the high first-round pick from last year. They traded up to get him. Andy Dalton, the free agent, move on from him. Nick Foles, this is not going to be an option for the new coaching regime. So definitely looking at a exciting potential here for Justin Fields in year two. There are some questions there that we're going to look at and for you in detail, but definitely Justin Fields is the guy here. They're going to keep going ahead. The one interesting about the Bears offseason is they went with Luke Getsy, and he's not a household name, but he's notable because he's from the Packers. Can't beat the Packers. You join to adapt some of their offensive principles, and that's exactly what the Bears are doing in 2022. Now, some issues. He's not going to have Dalton to look back on here, so that guy is going to be pushed forward as a franchise quarterback. And you look at wide receiver Robinson. You didn't do much anyway there for Justin Fields and Dalton's bridge year coming over from the Cowboys. It was Allen Robinson. He was hurt for a bit. Didn't just seem interested at all with the Bears, and probably upset about next big contract from them. Remember, he cashed in nicely coming over from the Jaguars. It was productive in the Chicago offense with a variety of different quarterbacks, but just totally failed. Mooney took over as the number one receiver. Cole Kmet, you figure to have a bigger role as well at end. There's some of those principles there that gets he's from the Packers, who had Robert Tunjoff. So they got to use Kmet a lot more here in year three. I think he was disappointing in his last year, and that was a big reason why he was let go here. An offensive-minded coach, he just didn't get the skill players and offensive line and beyond the game with David Montgomery. There wasn't a lot going for the Darnell Mooney. And David Montgomery showed DM helping Justin Fields. They need to get a lot more help. So wide receivers are going to be a problem. Increasing the play is going to be important as well. He's talented. We know he's an athletic target. Them Notre Dame. They've got the offense as well, but they have a good baseline with the running game. Field playing off each other. Any running quarterback has a nice floor in fantasy football. So that's the first thing we're looking for. Let Justin loose as a as a runner and passer. He's just too dynamic of a young quarterback to just kind of rein here. So that's what we want. Gets play to abilities here, work the intermediate well, but also open things up for the fields as a big arm and let him freelance a little bit and use his legs here because that is too big of an asset to ignore. He's also got the prototypical size, so you're not about the durability in the Fields. He can control himself well here. So look at big things for Fields here in year two. Lance, so we're excited about him too. I think we got too excited about Lance. Their teams weren't all that interested though in accelerating their process. They were kind of stashing them here for two, especially the Bears, as they wanted to build slowly. I think that also caught Aggie his opportunity here that maybe he should have been a little bit more aggressive with Fields, and so the rookie could have died away. Where he went maybe Dalton. The injuries didn't help as well, where they weren't sure. Then he had to battle through the COVID-19 issues where I think they would have been better off just starting Fields week one. And I think he lost being more comfortable where he is with offense, but it's a brand new offense now. So it's kind of reboot here for the entire Bears. Here, I think their passing game has to be the big arm of Justin Fields is going to get the ball to Darnell Mooney, who we know has good speed here. So looking to see what they can do to upgrade again up front, receiving core, get the skill positions right, young potential stud quarterback in the first round. So again, the biggest questions Bears, but I would expect they're new. And I really like Ryan Poles. I think he's got good sensibility coming over from the Chiefs. So tap into the Packers, tap into the Chiefs. They're two very successful franchise. Colts as well with Eberflus from good work as Frank Reich. We know Frank Reich's other coordinator, Nick Sirianni. Offense, he led the Eagles to in his first year. A lot of promise with his Bears organization that they actually will be organized and have a plan here for. Excited about that. With all the attention maybe on lighting it up for the 49ers in that very back-friendly scheme, let's not forget about what it can do here in year two for the Bears. And again, he is a two with some QB1 upside for sure if Bears can fix it nicely here. Poles, and you like a guy that knows exactly what worked for Andy Reid and that Chiefs offense, making the decisions here now in Chicago. Again, Bright mind here, replacing Ryan Pace. I think it's a very good fit for Chicago, moving the team forward here, away from some of the stuff this organization has done in the past. All right, we will talk about the Lions and Pack segment and close the show looking at the Minnesota Vikings. That's the other team in this division that has a new for 2022. Football's over for this. Basketball's in full steam for both pro and college hoops. From all the latest odds, totals, player performance props to where next fired coach is going to land. BetOnline.net is the number one spot for all your sports needs. BetOnline remains the best spot for all of your sport podcasts and news this season, whatever season it is, and it's not just basketball. In this season, where we know that NBA is toward the playoffs, college basketball is going to have tournaments, and the overall national tournament coming up. BetOnline is your source for boxing, Ultimate Fighting Championship, big weekend for that. And the odd to all the international events, golf and whatnot, with the coverage and information. So head to the website today, or use the mobile to learn more about the trends and BetOnline.net. BetOnline, where the game. Thanks again for making Locked On Fantasy Football your first listen every day. Make sure Locked On NFL. Locked On NFL experts there covering the biggest stories around the NFL, where Monday, Friday, in less than 30 minutes, available wherever you get your podcast. Again, that's Locked On NFL. Our Locked On expert. Check them out. We have many good minds here all across talking NFL and Locked On here. So excited the network, and you should get in all our shows here, all our team by team shows. Excellent here across the network. All right. Let us get in the Detroit Lions here. So Lions and Dan Campbell coming back for year two. A lot of question marks. We know they were in rebuilding mode with their GM who came over for the Rams. Holmes. He orchestrated to send Matthew Stafford to Los Angeles. Worked out well for them. They won the Super Bowl while the Lions got multiple round picks here to accelerate. They have 2 first-round picks here. They got the number 2 pick to work on offensive line or pass rush, and then the last pick as well as the Rams. That gives the Lions a number 32 overall pick. They've got some flexibility in the found. The question is Jared Goff going to still be quarterback? We saw a little bit of Tim Boyle there. Do they like him as a bridge? He'll believe in Jared Goff. I still think they feel good about for one more year. So that would kind of force a really high first round pick on a quarterback. I mean, they look at one at 32 overall. Is it a Desmond Ridder? Does Sam Howell there of North Carolina fall? Does it look like Carson Wrong of Nevada can push backdoor pick in the first round? Will one of those guys top either Malik Willis or Ryan Pickett of Pittsburgh or Matt Corral of Ole Miss? Will one of those guys go to number 32? I think that's the type of quarterback going to take. Knowing that they still have Goff, might be your way. He's battling it. He's not going to participate in the combine with a little ankle tweak there. So he's working to get ready. I was able to talk to him actually during. So Matt Corral very well could be a Lion quarterback here. So I think you look for some athleticism, dual threat ability here from whoever back is. And again, Goff, I would be the quarterback here for one more year as we go forward. What else do they need here to help that quarterback succeed? They had a revelation at wide receiver, Amon-Ra St. Brown. He really came on. We know he emerged as a wide receiver 2 in fantasy. Was dominant down the stretch all the way through the. You also have DeAndre Swift, a very special there. And some other guys that can complement him. Maybe they look for a power back to balance out Swift in his versatility and explosiveness and pass catching. And then you get TJ Hawkinson, Kelty as well. So 3 good established weapons here for the quarterback. We're going to watch this situation carefully. A rookie surgeon have some value here. We know Goff games he had one near the end of the season with St. Brown kind of established. Keefus had some moments early, but I think they could also look for an upgrade the other wide receiver spots. So if they get a couple positions sorted out. Get a receiver to play off St. Brown, get a dedicated slot, or someone who can be a number 10 guy outside. Watch it for the Lions. They can assemble some weapons here to help quarterback. And again, going from Anthony Lynn, offensive coordinator, they're going with a different guy, Ben Johnson. So Ben Johnson is a promotion within. They're looking for a little bit of different direction here from Anthony Lynn, who came from the Chargers. So that's good as well. So that quarterback will come into that, and Goff will make an adjustment. We'll have to see how it goes, but I'm looking forward to see what Johnson can do here. So change for the Bears with Luke Getsy. You're also the Lions with a new offensive coordinator. It's crazy. We have a new offensive coordinator all around here, including the Packers team, because they lost to Nathaniel Hackett there. So have their new offensive coordinator. His name is Adam Stevanovich. So he promoted offensive line coach and running game. So interesting move. They also brought back Tom Clements, and that takes us back to biggest question we know. Will he or won't Aaron Rodgers return? We did a whole show looking at the scenarios there. Right now, I'm pretty confident Aaron Rodgers will return here, and they kept some continuity. They did lose also their tight ends coach Justin Outen with Hackett to the Broncos there as their offensive coordinator. So a lot of changes across the league. As a coordinator here. But the Packers were keeping that status quo, promoting with Stevanovich there. So a guy that we can look at that is going to keep the continuity. So familiarity with the offense. Clements, friend of Rodgers. So that also is another point that he's a guy that pulled out of retirement, working for them, and is now working again. Devontae Adams is the free question mark, but he should get the franchise tag at very worst. I think he would move the Packers to give Adams a long-term deal to give them some relief here early, and they can only do a long-term deal where they're going to be locked into that massive $19 million all guaranteed contract 1 year if they go with Adams here. But Adams is back, folks. I mean, there's no way to let him go. Robert Tonyan, he suffered that knee injury. There went down for the season. That was a big loss when it came down to the playoff time because they didn't have consistent and number 2 weapon. Some flashes with Alan Lazard, but Packers still felt more comfortable with Rodgers' old target Randall Cobb working the inside. Marcus Scantling was hit or miss as a deep threat. He's a free. I don't think there's any way they'll bring back MVS. I think they need a more complete receiver. I think they him in the late round of the draft. So the to-do list for the Packers is pretty easy. They're older in the offensive line, some that. I think again they should think about moving Jordan Love if they're going to commit to Rodgers more. Just try to get something out of him to get a draft one that can help the offense even more, and definitely get that number 2 wide receiver locked down. I think a problem in the playoffs, the 49ers really defend them. They would let Adams thing, kind of like they did against Cooper Kupp, but they didn't have that Odell Beckham Jr., the other receiver that was going to take advantage of favorable coverage, and I think that's what hurt the Packers. So it's about multiple guys and create matchup nightmares. That's what Duke Tobin told me. He was head of personnel. He was our Sporting News executive of the year because that's why they got Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon, C.J. Uzomah to some degree. You had a lot of guys you had to cover and worry about in that passing game for Joe. And definitely the Packers have been hurting from having the multiple scare defense, especially at wide receiver. It's fine to have Tunyon doing some damage in the red zone, but they need to get ins there in Green Bay to really make Aaron Rodgers feel good about returning their chances to win a championship. I know you win 30 games for 3 consecutive years. You think you'll break through, get a couple number one seeds there. So yeah, the Packers just have to execute in the playoffs. I think getting a little bit more diversity and depth passing game with some younger guys that have a little bit more speed, consistency on the outside would really help Rodgers' chances of getting back to his second Super Bowl here in his career. All right. We will get into the Vikings. They're an interesting team as well as they're changing coaches, going a different direction. Mike Zimmer to Kevin O'Connell in 2022. It's the time of the year. It's March, where I pretty much up on all my New Year's resolutions from January. But this year, I'm able to stick to my resolution thanks to Built Bar. It almost feels like it's not real because I love Built Bar. So it's also the time of Lent, but to give up much if Built Bars are worked with, and you give up candy bars and other sweets. Have you tried the Puffs? If you haven't, you're missing out on one of Built Bar's basing bars as well. Puffs are the first ever produce marshmallow. They're fluffy. They're marshmallow. They're not just. They're a treat, and they're covered in 100% chocolate, just like all Built Bars. They all great, incredible flavors, like all of the Built Bars. Yummy churro, coconut marshmallow, and banana. All are so good, just like all flavors. And every bar you get from Built Bar, covered in 100% real chocolate. Yeah, put up candy bars for Lent. That's fine. You're going to enjoy Built Bars and be healthy. Low calorie, high protein. Place your candy bars with these. Go to built.com and scroll on the macro chart. You'll be blown away. High protein, high fiber, and low carb from most Built Bars can contain 130 calories, only 4 sugar, only 4 grams net carbs, and 17 grams. And compare that to a candy bar, which usually has 30 calories, 30 grams sugar, and dozens of nuts. Mint brownie, coconut, are just some of the flavors that you can check out. There always come new flavors at Built Bar. Flavor might be good. They'll make it. It'll be delicious, good for you. The taste always comes through for you with a Built Bar. And the way to get Built Bar right now is go to built.com. Use the promo code BLOCK15. You'll get 15% off your order. Use the promo 15 for 15% off at built.com. All right, it is time to close the show. Looking at Minnesota Vikings, and the new man on the Minnesota Vikings is Kevin O. He comes over from the Rams. You might know Rams made the Super Bowl with Sean McVay, their current coach, and the other team in the Bengals. They had Zach Taylor. He was the former quarterbacks coach of the Rams, and you also have Brandon, who had a good year with the Chargers, didn't make but he was a defensive coordinator there for McVay. So this McVay tree, there was a run about, hey, just draft the next young guy from the McVay tree, but turns out it's not a strategy here at all. As Taylor here and McVay himself by winning his first Super Bowl. So O'Connell, love this guy. He was drafted as a backup to 80 there. So I love that fact that he was around Bill Belichick. You get the influence of McVay. So I think this is a great move for the Vikings. Been excited about this for a while for and fantasy football purposes. And if you're a fan, you should love this as well, because Mike Zimmer was getting pretty stodgy. They were in that Kubiak zone offense first with Gary, and then let's go forward with our offense and modernize it a little bit. You got the weapons here. You got Cook. Your offensive line is improving. You got Harris on the left side. I'm sure they're going to work on the interior line here. So established. I think O'Connell actually is going to help Kirk Cousins, because we report this week that Mike Zimmer wasn't our Cousins, probably because Zimmer is a pretty conservative old school coach and doesn't want to push it forward passing game. But O'Connell will do that. What you're going to see, though, remember, the Cooper Cup in Los Angeles, there for McVay, but they also had Odell and they have Robert Woods, so they're going to get some weapons here. They do have Adam Thielen, but he's getting a little bit older, having the injuries pile up a little bit here for slowing down a bit. So I think it's imperative that the Vikings get their weapon. I know they've seen something out of Kate Osborne. I think they should have some hopes that Irv Smith Jr. will return and look at tight end Tyler Conklin, who had some moments there in 2021. I think they definitely need that true wide receiver, not an equal threat necessarily as Jefferson, but someone who can complement his big play skill set. You have an alpha number one Jefferson doing the gritty, all that stuff. He is one of the best receivers already in year two. So just get a complimentary receiver. It could be your Cooper Cup here. So I'm excited with Jefferson. I mean, he was already a wide receiver. There's not much more to go except being the best fantasy football wide receiver. I think he has that much potential. Connell's offense and scheme and all that. Cousins is going to benefit as well. Some decent numbers, been rather fit. They're stuck with him. There's some talk about will they replace him and move on. Can't afford to do that. Maybe they'll stash a guy at Kellen Mond that they can look at to develop here. But I look at the Vikings and say this is really good for their. So Jefferson should get a compliment as well as Thielen. If Thielen slows down a little bit, that's as a kind of a slot in here, one more dynamic with youth to complement Jefferson with the big play side and still have Thielen for the red zone. The Conklin, you have Dalvin Cook, so this is going to be good for Dalvin and the schemes and all that are going to run here. So I'm excited for the Vikings offensive skill players. A lot of upside. Bump them all. He could see maybe the number two running back. Some little tweaks here and there, but off the line getting a little bit more athletic, helping Derek there up front to be effective. They play from Garrett Bradbury at center, so that's someone they could look to replace here. Tyler Linderbaum of Iowa, who I have taken him, in the mock on the radar here for some offensive line help here in 2022. Very excited about what the do, and really this whole division has a lot of upside.